feels weird that I'm flexing next to someone that's so jacked this time.
Oh man, is that right?
I gained a bunch of weight for the deadlift goal.
Yeah.
So it was a joke because I was getting fluffy, and then so like every time I start the camera, because I don't edit shit. Like.
Yeah, this whole thing, we forgot to tell you that part. It'll be unedited the whole time. We don't care.
We don't have young Jamie. Joe Rogan to make a little Instagram clip. So I know you edit it though because you have DJ playing.
I just edit music in, but like
the intro and outro
in between. Just one take.
The YouTube is just from the start of the push. So the intros are just flexing.
Maybe we could get Red Band. Seems like he's out of it.
I know. That's what I was saying. Like you're like who's in charge of the audio? I am. I'm like, I'm obviously more dedicated because I put music in mine. Mark just throws his up. He's so freaking lazy.
I push a button. And then sometimes, like, people call and I'm trying to, like, I didn't even have the Do Not Disturb thing figured out yet. Because when you click Do Not Disturb on your iPhone, there's other tabs underneath it in settings that say, like, no calls allowed. Because usually the stock is that, like, people that you know in your contacts, the calls still go through.
We're obviously rookies, and we don't even have a legit studio, but this works for now.
This is legit.
This is legit.
We're like episode 32 now of FixFitness, guys, and we want to welcome Miles. And Miles, go ahead and shout out, like, your company and some Instagram handles and stuff we can throw in the show notes for everyone to follow.
Yeah, so breath.fitness, not .com. And everything's on there. So Instagram, YouTube.
You have a website too?
Yeah. So the website is http breath.fitness.
Cool. Wow. Right. I'll put it all in the show notes so people can.
Man, he has got a website. That's official.
It is.
I also put show notes in there. Mark doesn't. It's everyone.
Dang.
Audio's better than YouTube, I guess.
I don't know about that.
Do you have a office space, Miles?
No, I'm just doing stuff out of the house. Mm-hmm. We just moved to San Jose, from San Jose.
Oh, nice.
Here about a year ago.
Sweet.
So we're just figuring it out.
What part of San Jose?
I was in the west side of San Jose.
Okay. Yeah. I lived there for 3 years to go to school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we lived south San Jose.
All right.
The ghetto. It was pretty ghetto.
The ghetto.
Are you from up there?
No, I'm from the Midwest originally.
Okay.
But I've sort of moved all around and made it to California and just lived.
What took you to San Jose?
I worked at I used to be a creative director at an ad agency, and so that was where their headquarters were for a while. Mm-hmm. But they have an office there. That's where a big office, but their headquarters is in London. So so it allowed me to work remote mostly after I sort of worked at the office enough.
Oh, cool.
But now I'm transitioning into breath work and teaching people adrenaline control.
Sweet.
And, we test it in the ice bath and test it when we do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, Mark mentioned you're a black belt, so where did you train at up there, and then where do you train at down here?
So now I'm at 4S BJJ, not too far from here.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Andrew.
Yeah, he's the coolest.
Shout out Andrew.
For sure.
Yeah.
Andrew. And an awesome place. He creates an amazing atmosphere. Our lunchtime classes are particularly impressive because, usually lunchtime classes are a little bit smaller at most gyms. But because of the area I think we're in, a lot of people's work's around there. Yeah. So we'll have half a dozen black belts on the mat for lunchtime class and maybe 20, 30 people.
Killers.
And I was just talking to a friend of mine in Florida last night, and he was saying how they have one black belt in their town. And I was like, man, that's
4 at lunchtime.
Yeah.
You got to drive 3 hours away to find another black belt.
That's crazy.
So
we're at Mecca down here for jiu-jitsu, huh?
Yeah, probably
just
probably
the
the number one place.
Capital too, right? Just kind of like there's just the weather.
Yeah, New York and here.
Kickbox, everything.
Let's be real, all the Brazilians just relocated down here.
Yeah, right? It's pretty close.
Yeah, for sure. But I got my black belt in San Jose at Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu under Dave Camarillo.
Damn. Ooh. Shit. Shout out Dave Camarillo. Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, he's wicked good.
Yeah.
And, but I've moved around a bunch and got different belts from.
Did you ever meet? Isn't John Fitch from there too?
Yeah, he comes through. I haven't got to roll with him personally.
Oh damn.
But
he's a beast.
He is a beast.
Does he have his own gym now, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I thought someone was talking about him recently.
Savage. They do crazy stuff there. So Dave is about. He is about the combative portion. We make sure that people know how to get through this combative things, and we do these weird trainings to surprise you, and you don't know what's going to happen. And this is like you come out of a closet and you're like, you have to do this, and you're like, oh my god. And one of the things they do is they use shock knives So it's a knife that, with like electricity. And I've never done it with them, but those guys are wild, man. I've seen the videos of John and Dave fighting with a shock knife.
Jeez, dude. You think they still do that? We have talks about that where like this new generations can't handle stuff like that. It's a little softer generation. I don't know if you come in day one and be like, hey, we're going to attack you with shock knives. And then the general pop would just be like, this place is nuts. Yeah. These people are out of their damn mind.
Yeah, I think you wouldn't do it with that. But another good friend that uses, they use markers, which is pretty cool.
We've done that at the beach before. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's really fun. Simulates.
I don't know why we picked that up, but there's one time we were just at La Jolla, and then we're on the grass. We all have this big expo markers and just trying to stab each other.
That's cool. That's a
We've done that
valid.
I don't even know why we did it. I think it's
better than playing body shots, I guess.
Yeah, you can see it. You can't lie about it. Yeah. You didn't get me, bro. Like,
right.
It's right on your arm, man. Come on.
It's good practice in case you're going to Tijuana.
Yeah. I haven't been there since I was 18. That was the place to go when you're under like that, in between. When you're 18 to 20. Yeah. That's where you could drink.
I came to school down when I was 18 in San Diego. My mom was like so worried that I'd go to TJ. Yeah. And I was like, I'm too scared. Screw it. And that's when you didn't need a passport and stuff.
You're Mexican.
Yeah, you just walk across.
I don't speak a lick of Spanish though. Yeah, I used to be able to just like walk across. Yeah. Well, you still can, but like it's way harder to get back in now and passports, and I don't think kids are doing it as much. But when's the first time you did Wim Hof then? Like what got you into it?
Yeah, 2015. Okay. I watched Joe Rogan's podcast where Wim was on it live, and so I watched that one live. And man, I did it while he was sort of doing a little demo.
Yep.
And I felt it right away, and it was on after that. I mean, I was doing it for like a daily practice, and the cold was not interesting to me at all. That seemed preposterous. I mean, we all are in California because we don't like the cold, and I wasn't even interested in that. And so I did it for a long time, for like 6 months.
Without the cold training.
Without even considering the cold.
Yeah.
I know official training, just podcast.
What's that?
You just listened to the podcast once and didn't
right. Yeah, that was it. That was really it, because I mean this stuff is so natural and effective.
Yeah.
And I happen to have the lowest lung capacity almost a person can have. So like in the doctor's office, you breathe into something. You guys might have them here or something, and you can just see what their lung capacity is. And they would think that the thing's broken, and they'd like go get a different one.
Shit.
And so I had a really low lung capacity, and so that's probably why it was mega effective for me immediately. Mm-hmm. And then it just has all these other things because of my low lung capacity. I had shit cardio, garbage cardio. I had I would get sick a lot. So and I think that has to be with being like kind of acidic. All these things that we do make us a little bit acidic. Coffee and steaks and wine and everything we like. Makes us a little bit acidic throughout the day, I think. And so I was walking around particularly, more acidic than most people. I'd get cold sores in my mouth. I'd get, congested all the time. And that stuff went away immediately when I started doing that stuff.
Jeez, that sounds like me. I get those cold sores and stuffy.
Yeah.
Mouth breather.
Or some mouth breather.
Yeah.
Deviated septum. What else you got?
Was too.
Yeah, everything.
I still do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy, but so I thought the nose stuff too. Like I thought I would never be able to. I just can't use my nose as well as other people, and I just sort of accepted that. But actually, when you start learning these better breathing mechanics, and you learn how to clear up your nose and a few different things. Now I use now I sleep with my nose all the time, no problem. And I mean, just that's a very simple change to make. Just change your breathing mechanics, and all of a sudden the benefits are like transcending everything you do.
Yeah, that's kind of good to know of that you're just practicing the breath work and not the cold.
Yeah.
Because I'm born and raised San Diego, and I'm super afraid of the cold. So I did the seminar, and I had the intentions of like, all right, at least I'll do cold showers. Mm-hmm. I haven't done one yet.
No.
But I'm
with you.
But I've been practicing the breath work like all the time and applying it to different things. So it's good to know that like there's still ways to get around it if you're afraid of the cold.
And how beneficial it is even without using the cold. But I tell you what, a cold shower is actually pretty awful compared to an ice bath. I would prefer an ice bath over a cold shower.
I think so too. There's something about that like just you're getting in, and just like shock, hitting you with little needles versus just being comfortable. Like, there's no escape, right? For me, when I'm in the shower and the water's cold, it's like you're playing like this jump rope, like you're trying to get in like a double dutch, and you're and it hits you and you jump back out.
So bitter first thing in the morning too. So like that's the last thing I want.
You're mentally.
I'm already like, like I could sleep a few more minutes, and then like to get hit with that, even on accident, it pisses me off. But it's like I was telling Mark in the last podcast, like that. There's a reason for that though. Your body's not ready to wake up, you know, so you get hit with it, and then I'm all bitter, and it's like you should be able to work around something like so subjective like that because it's not bad for you.
No, it's great for you.
It's great for you. Yeah.
Cold showers are tough though.
Do you have like a setup at home where you like in the morning or something you jump into like a cold immersion or whatever? Sure. Yeah. Oh, you do?
Yeah. And you know what? It's pretty neat too because a lot of people are doing chest freezers. And they freeze, you know, they're super cold. They're like 0 degrees all the time, and that's really cool. But what happens is I've noticed that you get really good at 0, and then the switch to me was around 48 degrees. So when I was in San Jose, we had an apartment pool, like a real nice big pool, and I would walk out to there at 6 in the morning, and it would be about 46 degrees. It would be in the 40s. And I would walk out there, and I could walk right toward the deep end. You know when you're in a pool and the deep end starts to go down? Yeah. And so I'd walk down, and I'd get to the part where it starts to go down. I'm right in the middle of the pool, and you can imagine how busy the pool is at 6 in the morning when it's 40 degrees.
This crazy dude out here.
They thought I was a crazy dude. But so it was neat. So I got to, and I did it I did it all the time. And I got to notice the different temperature changes and how it affected me. And when it got over 49 degrees, my body would like stay cold because I would do really long ones in there, and so I would try and stay in there for a while, and I would never, it was hard for me to stay warm. And so I noticed what happens is it's like we sort of acclimate to a bunch of different temperatures.
Yeah. And
a lot of the practitioners, the Wim Hof guys, are doing like 0 all the time. And I'm curious, what happened to me was when I got to do 50, I could not warm up in 50. You
mean 0 degrees, like of water?
Yeah. Oh, they're doing 0, yeah. Most of the guys are doing the chest freezers where you're at, well, not at 0 degrees, I guess at 32 degrees.
Oh, okay, right.
0 Celsius.
0 Celsius, yeah.
But so you can acclimate your body. It's brutal. It's all brutal. It feels like you're getting murdered.
Yeah.
But you can acclimate your body throughout all the different cold, all the different temperatures. So what I do is I go through a gamut of them. So I do an ice bath at night. One time I'll have the ice all in there, and then I'll let it get a little bit warmer, and then I'll do one that morning, and then I'll maybe throw a bag or 2 in and do another one later.
So you're varying the temps.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, if you're trying to acclimate and use the breathing techniques to, chill out, you want to have different stimulus, I guess. Because if you do the same exact thing every time, you're not even going to get nervous anymore.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I've gotten to the point now where the ice bath, I just noticed it. I mean, I've been doing it a long time, and I just noticed I've gotten to this point where, when you get in the hot tub and it feels so good. And it feels so good. And sometimes you're even just baking your backside. You're just you're in there kind of cooking your skin and stuff, but you're like, I don't want to leave this. This is amazing. Yeah. So I felt like that the other day in the ice bath. It felt so good, and you're going to get there too.
Yeah.
When you do this, you're going to get there, and it felt so good. And I knew that I'm probably pushing the limits a little bit. I set a timer just to make sure I don't stay in too long.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to get to that point where it was like so comfortable that it's like a sweet pleasure.
Patients ask me heat or ice all the time because they have injury when they come in, and I'll say ice to kind of calm it down, and then switch to heat. There's a reason we like heat better because it's loosening your spasm and more blood flow, right? So, but I'll tell them the story of like I had a patient that was like, what did he do? He tweaked his back, then he was feeling better, so he went to the gym and did a bunch of back exercises, and he was feeling great. He went in the spa that night, sat in it for like you were saying, like, oh, this feels so good. 45 minutes, margaritas, woke up the next day, could not move.
Oh no.
Because he's dehydrated himself, muscle spasm, and the jets on his back the whole time. I tell him that story because I'm like, dude, seriously, like keep it to like a 10-minute window because it does feel good, but you could do really bad harm with more inflammation, more spasm.
It swelled up because it's blood thinned too.
Right. Plus he was drinking alcohol.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, the alcohol thinned his blood, I think.
Right.
A friend of mine got into a skateboarding accident, and he used to get pulled by his dog. He was an amazing skateboarder, Nelson. Shout out to Nelson. And and then he takes a hard turn. He's getting pulled by his dog. He slams into a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
And he goes home that night, and he's okay, but it's bad, And he drinks whiskey already. He drinks whiskey more than water anyway, and so he just had a normal night, and then and he couldn't. He had to go to the hospital in the morning, and they had to cut his jeans off because his leg had swelled up, and they said that's why because of the alcohol thinned his blood and made the swelling like 10 times worse.
So those movies where they're just like pounding a whiskey bottle to numb the pain.
Such a bad idea.
Such a movie thing, guys. Don't do it.
Not real.
Something I was talking to Mark about, especially last time. I was like, there's a reason we hate the cold so much too, but it's because there's some kind of mental component you got to get over, and that's where the breathing kind of comes in, is my guess, to learn how to control your nervous system from that initial like shock, and then be able to control yourself to actually let me
answer that in a novice way, right? And then we'll get the real answer. The way I interpret it, because I've been testing the protocols after the seminar, and I think what the cold bath allowed me to do was get into that nervous state, or the sympathetic nervous state, where I'm just breathing heavy and freaking out. And for me, from doing CrossFit and running, it's hard to get there, until I'm like at a max capacity of like sprinting. So the other day I did the Wim Hof breathing, and then I went for a mile sprint. And then so I was going and I was sprinting the mile, which, coming off of that deadlift and being heavy, I haven't ran a lot. So this was getting to that point. I was running as fast as I could around my neighborhood. There's a lot of hills. And then I started getting to that like panic mode, right? Or whatever, where I'm breathing heavy, everything's hurting, I'm out of breath. And I just was able to get to disassociate that pain with using the breathing techniques.
Amazing.
So that's the way I interpret it. It's like the ice and stuff. That training, I just reminded myself when I was sprinting, I felt my lungs start to like go, you get that fire lung when you're sprinting or doing a hard workout. My legs are starting to burn real bad. But I was able to just sit there like I was in the ice bath, because when you're in the ice bath, it's a lot of pain. It hurts, right? But you're able to focus on the breathing. And then once you focus on the breathing, then the pain is there, but you're able to kind of like separate yourself from it. It's really strange.
Yeah, it is very strange.
It's like that, like...
it's a body dissociative feeling.
Yeah, it's like when you wake up in the middle of the night, your eyes are open, but you really don't know if you're awake or asleep. It's like that meditative state, and that's what happened on the run. And then I ran under 8 minutes, so it was like 7:59. And some of you guys might not think it's fast, but for me, that's fast as hell.
With the hills and stuff.
I haven't been in a 7-minute mile in I don't even know how long. So then I did the test again yesterday.
Yeah, how'd it go?
And I got 7 seconds faster. And this time I felt like I was running and not sprinting, because before I was sprinting. So the whole time I was able to maintain like a run pace.
Nice.
And so for me, I think that's my experience so far and how it kind of works. Like the pain helps you, or you use the breathing to help disassociate with the pain you're going to feel. It's not like it's going to be some magical, like, if I breathe like this, I won't feel any pain. It does. For me, I don't think that works like that.
No, the pain still exists. You sort of exist alongside the pain. But you brought up a perfect example, which was when you wake up at night and probably coming out of a REM sleep. So what we're experiencing, what we're learning now is that what the Wim Hof method does is push you into a super deep meditation where your brain's at like 40 megahertz. You're in a gamma state, and the similar things are REM sleep. A gamma state is REM sleep. Hypnosis is REM sleep, or super deep meditation. So what happens when you're in those states? Well, there is some crazy powerful things that happen when you're in those states that people can look up the list of the things that happen, but all these amazing chemicals get released in your body, and which gives us additional control. And then it's when the placebo effect happens. It's the same sort of when you have control of your inner physiology, you have more control in that gamma state, and we're discovering some really fascinating things that are happening.
When's the first time you went to like a seminar to try this out, I guess? What made you want to get certified in it?
Yeah, so I after doing it for a while, I added breath work to my workouts, and I was sweating like crazy, and I was like, man, is this why am I sweating so much during this? So I'm like, I wondered if it was the breathing. So I stopped the exercises, just did the breathing. It was the breathing. The breathing was getting me super sweaty, and then that's when I'm like, okay, is that why these guys are hanging out in the cold and doing all this stuff? So I started cold exposure then, and it was like literally, I've been doing it so long, and I was able to raise my body temperature by myself already, and so cold exposure was very easy when I first started, and continued to be. But so after that, I did a seminar with Wim in Treasure Island.
Sweet.
Off of we had like 200 people off of this island in the middle of the bay, right?
Yeah.
And it was freezing that day. I think it was in like January, and people were getting. I think that one went down in a little bit of Wim Hof history as like maybe people they might pick a better location or at least a better time of the year to do that because it was so cold out and we had all these people.
They have a lot of races over there for some reason too.
They have a lot of what?
Like a lot of endurance races. And stuff.
Yeah, the swim right there.
Yeah, triathlons.
It's a windy, cold spot.
Yeah,
and so
he's probably like, target those people. Like the triathletes need this for sure.
It was cool. So we so I did that one there, and then it was on. I mean, I was just so after learning this stuff. It feels like I'm almost like I feel obligated. I'm definitely telling my friends and everything, and I'm telling anyone that'll listen. And so at some point, it was just like I got to keep moving through these modules. And the people that are the neat thing too is the people that are into this stuff. As far as instructors, they all have disciplines outside of this stuff.
Right.
And they're fascinating people. At our instructor final advanced module, there's 60 people, and the lunch conversations will blow your mind. I mean, just because everybody there is really into some aspect of
health and fitness,
wellness in some way, probably
trying to crack the code.
And it's so it's an amazing group of people, and it's totally family run, the business. So they're really trying to not put out too much content. They could put out and make a lot more money and put out more content, but they don't. They really want to make sure that they stay true to these principles and make sure all the instructors are good and stuff.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's so super cool. It's all his family. It's all his kids that started the company and run it.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
how many instructors are there, do you think?
I think we're up to 350 worldwide.
It doesn't seem like a lot.
It doesn't seem like a lot. They've only been certifying for 4 years. So wow. So again, they don't certify everybody. Not everybody
which is good. Which is good to know because
Yeah, that is good to know.
So many, let's say like CrossFit level 1 seminars that goes around in the world, and there's like hundreds of people every weekend.
Right.
Every weekend.
So, when you've been doing these seminars, how long have you been doing them now? About a year?
Yeah.
Is it mostly, did it start off, well now it's growing into a CrossFit gym, but a lot of jiu-jitsu guys first?
Well, that's how it helped me the most at first. So, aside from the health benefits, are for everybody, but I used to get super nervous when I competed. And so much so that I didn't like it. I didn't like spending half a Saturday with butterflies in my stomach, having to go against, I was a little bit heavier than I'm going against heavy weights and stuff. And I just didn't like it. I might even do okay, but it just didn't, it wasn't a fun time, Yeah. And because of the butterflies. And the moment I'd sign up, I'd fill out my form and hit send. And there they start going, and it was uncomfortable. And I thought, man, I didn't understand why they were happening. So when I started doing the WIM stuff and I was able to get rid of those, I mean, now I'm wanting to spread the word to the guys. And not only can you get rid of them, you can just completely eliminate them like nothing.
Yeah.
So I started doing the Fight to Wins, which is a super cool professional jiu-jitsu organization. And the events are as cool as it gets. The promoter, Seth, used to be a rock promoter.
Oh, nice.
And so he had
big
all the
stage.
gear.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge stage. I mean, speakers that will vibrate your feet. I mean, it is.
That's good. That's what jiu-jitsu needs, right? Like a more spectator vibe.
Yeah, and that's what this is. So the show is you're the only match going on at once. You're on like a 4 or 5
more
foot.
Butterflies.
It should be.
Yeah.
And you walk down a walkway, pro wrestling style, through smoke and lasers. You picked your song.
Hell yeah.
You see all your friends.
That's it.
And that should be a place of anxiety. And I've actually reffed them too. And I've sat on the other side of the walkway, stood on the other side of the walkway, and watched people come down. And I can tell
even as a ref, you're like,
I can tell people are so nervous.
Yeah.
I can tell people this is like their life. This is their the moment in their life right now because the presentation is part of that. But using the anxiety control of the Wim Hof method, I completely eliminated any nerves. I mean, I'm saying nothing. I walk down the walkway. I can see my friends. Everything's crystal clear. A lot of things that go on with, along with the nerves, you get an adrenaline dump in some cases where you lose your strength.
Yep.
You feel like you lose your strength.
Yeah,
you lose
feel that all the time.
Spit in your mouth.
Yep.
That's the worst one to me when you don't have any your mouth gets dry.
I've had that before a match.
Yeah.
Yeah. really weak, a lot of weakness.
Yeah, you feel weak.
Really cold muscles in my legs.
It's bizarre.
I hate it.
Right before all the open workouts, the CrossFit workouts, or a big lift or anything, like even that 500-pound deadlift day, like the whole time I just felt cold.
Yeah.
Wow. You can't, like I've told my members all the time, every time I go for a CrossFit comp, powerlifting, weightlifting, it's like, I tell them I do a general warm-up, but I can't get warm because you just feel like zapped.
That's amazing how the CrossFit and Jiu-Jitsu are similar.
So much parallels.
In that way, you're fighting against the weights, and we're fighting against some guy, but it doesn't really matter. You're really fighting against yourself, you know.
Yeah, self-inflicted anxiety, you know, because you want to do your best, and you put so much pressure on yourself.
And the same thing happens if you have to do a speech or something. I mean, it's very similar, you know, to perform. It was avoiding that anxiety used to be impossible, but I'm telling you, with the Wim Hof method, we just watched someone last weekend, a boxer, also a UFC fighter, I believe, and he used it to overcome anxiety. And you can do it anytime you get that anxious feeling. You can completely eliminate it.
Mid training too, mid match, you can do it.
Mid match, well, so what you want to do is this is what it's. So that sick feeling, you feel sick,
right?
So what I noticed is in one of the biggest studies that Wim did is he was able to control sick symptoms where he didn't get sick symptoms. And so I thought, why doesn't that work for anxiety? It feels like being sick.
Yeah.
So same deal. So what you do is when you get symptoms of being sick, your adrenaline goes up to sort of aid those symptoms and make you feel a little bit better.
Right.
But what happened with Wim is he brought his adrenaline up way before he got the symptoms, and he never got the symptoms.
Oh, that makes sense. I was wondering how that works.
That's what I was wondering if it's because I know Joe Rogan was saying he does it before he goes on stage, like every time.
Yeah.
So then that way it's to reduce it before you go on. But I'm like, if you're like, especially in jiu-jitsu, right? Like you're rolling for 30 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. You do it before you go to a training session. Or like, what if it happens like 20 minutes in and some super heavyweights in your side control?
Yeah.
And you're just pinned.
Yeah.
You know, that's my anxiety. Like, not being on my back that long. It's like, I come from a wrestling background, so we're never supposed to go to our back.
Right.
So someone heavy pressure on me, side control, 20 minutes in, I'm like, I might just start panicking.
It's brutal.
That's the application where it's like, our coach is DJ Leslie, and then Hoadley, one of our members, went to the seminar too. We were thinking, you know, when you do a crazy workout, it doesn't even have to be CrossFit. Think of the craziest workout you've ever done, like a 400-meter max sprint or something. But that exercise anxiety doesn't happen until you hit the wall.
Right.
Like when you're rolling hard, you're fine for the first 5 minutes, like you say, and then all of a sudden you hit the wall because like
have adrenaline dump.
The adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
So we're talking about application because when you do CrossFit workout, you're fine, and then all of a sudden, like boom, you're freaking out because you don't feel like you can keep the pace, you can't breathe. So we're like, if we do the breathing, and now I understand the science behind it, it's you spike that adrenaline past that point or the same point that you're going to experience, then it won't freak you out. And that's usually like, I think for me, and looking back on my running, when you're running and you're cruising for the first 4 minutes or whatever, and you're feeling fast, and then when you make the turnaround or you're going back and you're like, I can't keep this pace, I'm breathing too hard, then it's like, then the adrenaline really spikes. So maybe like the reason why I'm able to sustain that run or sprint pace was that I cranked up that adrenaline so high before. Yeah. And when I'm running, I never got to past that point of where I got to.
I think you actually bring it up higher than you would. At least the blood tests showed that when so what happens is this experiment, they got injected with an endotoxin. So they were a dead bacteria. They were gonna get sick from it. It was guaranteed. They'd done it 1,000 times. The university. And so when they started to get sick, they're an arbitrary number. You can just look at the graphs. And when they started to feel symptoms, their adrenaline would go up to about a 7. Okay. In the control group that didn't know the Wim Hof method. But the ones that did, they would bring their adrenaline up. And this is an arbitrary number, but you could just kind of look at the graph. And the ones that knew it brought their adrenaline up to a 10 before they got injected. Got it. And then they never got the symptoms. So chances are, within a quarter of an hour, you brought your adrenaline up higher than you ever would have, even during the run. Yeah. And that's why you didn't get that adrenaline dump, is what it feels like,
Isn't that crazy? Like for crazy. Ian and I, we deal with anxiety. We had a couple of podcast topics on it. And it's like you're saying, like, we don't have to suffer because, like when you sign up for a comp or you have a presentation, you have, an important meeting, then you're going to live with that anxiety for whatever, 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah, for sure.
Couple months, because
anytime you do any visualization of it too, that's what the worst. It's like when you want to think about it and think about how it's going to go, and then that's when that comes up. Which I think visualization is a super important part of competing or doing stuff.
Even at the seminar, because we went around with names, and you kind of just say what you're here for. Mm-hmm. And for me, like, I could run a big class of CrossFit because I know what I'm teaching, and it could be 100 people on Murph Day, and I'm fine. But little things like that where you're like going around with names, like, cause my anxiety spikes right away, and it was bad. And I didn't do any breathing prior to, but it's like that's what I've been dealing with my whole life. Mm-hmm. It's like that application where you could kind of, for me, there's the performance side, but the anxiety part was what I told the whole group, was like, I really want to dive into that because we've talked about it so much, and if this can be the answer, it'd be amazing.
I don't even wonder if anxiety, it couldn't be related to being a kind of acidic.
Yeah.
Like you're more anxious when you're more acidic.
For sure. I mean, I didn't sleep well. I'm trying to prep for the event, so I came in early to clean. I'm drinking coffee, and then all of a sudden I sit there and everyone's like, go around with names. It's something so simple, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to say.
Right.
Like losing my mind, Yeah. But if I did the breathing prior to, things like that, I'm going to keep testing. So I'll definitely report back on the anxiety front.
Well, the cool thing is it's really any conscious breathing. So we talk about the Wim Hof method, and the Wim Hof method is awesome for the fact that they give you the principles, and they're really, they've distilled it down to, these things work, but again, it's still a little bit of a recipe on top of the principles. Yeah. And it's any conscious breathing. I mean, any of those, I've studied a bunch of the different ones, and a lot of people are getting similar benefits or benefits that are, so it's such a natural thing, and we're all already awesome at it. I mean, we've been doing it a long time, and we're all sitting here, so we're super good at it already.
Dude, I love that word. I love that word, conscious breathing, so much, because that was the first topic. I mentioned on the last podcast that from physical therapists, I took a breathing seminar, but it was focused expiration breathing, but that was a thing that they brought up, was the conscious breathing that I kind of forgot.
Yeah.
Because breathing is autonomic, we just do it all the time, but when you control it, it's completely different. And like you're saying, those charts showing what it's doing to adrenaline levels when you can actually control it, it's freaking mind-blowing, dude. It's so awesome.
Well, I was just thinking about today, actually. It is, it's automatic, and it does it for you, but the only thing that it doesn't do, it doesn't anticipate.
Right.
So your breath work just has to catch up to what you're doing, what the needs are. Makes sense. All you have to do is use it in knowing how it works and anticipate what you have to accomplish, and then you can prep, and you can create an energy reserve, and you can do all these things that allows you to do so much more.
See, that's what, it's just, the application is so array, right? Like,
That's what blows my mind, because me, like with FixFit, we're like, we could take it to golf.
Right. I'm like already thinking power lifter, right? Like if they wake up in the morning and they have a competition and they're like, shit, I got a 1 rep max hit.
Yeah.
And you're already kind of high. Mm-hmm. If they bring up their adrenaline and then what if they want to ramp it back up again, like right after a power lift? Is it going to be easier?
Go ahead.
What we're practicing is going to parasympathetic, and sympathetic. I don't even like to say that they're states, because that makes you think that you've arrived.
Right.
But
like
they're
one
zones.
Or the other.
Yeah, they're just zones, and they overlap a little bit.
Yes.
So what we're doing with this is practicing going from the top of the zones to the bottom of the zones.
Right.
And so the application is people that have like adrenal fatigue or CrossFitters that need it. When you need it at a certain time, you're just learning how to gain better control of it.
Yeah.
So if it's high and you need it low, then you know how to make it low. Dude, if it's too low and you need it high, then you make it high.
So then you can spike it up before 1 rep. Which
totally.
That's what I had the exact same. We had a call recently because we're planning another seminar, but it's the same thing. I asked him. I was like, man, this is crazy. I want to meet up at the gym, because for us, I was thinking of the powerlift, the same question. I was like, if I could spike up, our technique we've learned from Olympic lifting, powerlifting, that's why all lifters, right before they lift, look at any of the meets, power lifts or Olympic lifters, they just yell. They give out a battle cry.
Yeah.
And then you have to yell full force, and you have to make that chemical change that you talk about. It's because to spike the adrenaline. But from what I'm learning, it's like, it might not, I would love to have science on that or whatever, because you might not even be able to spike it. Maybe you could spike it at a 5 or something. But the breathing, one of the things that Wim Hof talked about in a video, or maybe it was from your seminar, I'm not sure, but they were saying they got a bunch of people to spike their adrenaline so high by laying down breathing.
Yes.
More than the people that they tested that were just about to do a bungee jump. So like if I can yell and I get my adrenaline to 3, like that's not enough for that. Like I'm not optimizing my potential. If I can do the breathing and I get to fucking 10, and then I go to pull that weight, it's like, can you imagine? I just would love to constantly test that application.
And you described it perfectly. One thing you didn't mention, it was that it's people doing a bungee jump for the first time. So that first time,
can you imagine the nerves and the adrenaline?
You have no idea.
The rush.
So that's really important, because a lot of the things we do, people say, well, how do I get better at competing? How do I get better? Oh, you just, you start with small competitions, you just do it a bunch, and then of course you're going to get better. So that's awesome. That's a great way to get better control of the nerves, is just keep doing it and then you're going to get better. But this allows you to control the nerves with something you've never done before.
It's instant
the first time.
You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait 40 comps. And we talk about anxiety. There's people in the pros and stuff. That old school traditional mindset of just do more comps. Those people will just keep fighting that anxiety until they burst or quit. So some people might not even get that adaptation.
That's true. They might not get there,
right?
But that does work. Yeah.
It does work for some, but some people just get more and more anxiety as more and more is riding on it, and then they like get to the big show, like a fight to win, and they're like, I can't do it.
What's funny is like if you're going to do a 500-pound deadlift, it's just a new number for you, right? So you're subjectively spiking your anxiety, right?
Yeah.
You've deadlifted thousands and thousands. The bungee jumpers, like he's saying, like they literally do not even know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
Yours is, I know what the outcome is. If I fail, I just drop it.
Yeah.
But we talk biomechanics a lot with FixFit. So the controlling of your breathing from like a biomechanical aspect too, of like where your rib cage is at for a lift, especially when like he's talking Olympic lifters going overhead, their reduction in injury. I mean, we're talking so much arbitration stuff of like, oh cool, you could probably PR, you will have less anxiety, but like biomechanically too, you're going to reduce the chance of like breaking your back, blowing out a shoulder, because your rib cage is not going to be your diaphragm's locked down, you're going to be locked out more. And so even if you're practicing that in training, all the small repetitions over and over and over, we're not going to see so many banged up people on top of.
Totally.
I didn't even think about that, because when I ran, I just got back into running. We call it the Non-Runners Run Club with Robin, and we're just doing 800s. And I remember a couple of those times, because I was, I haven't been running, I felt a lot of the tension in my lower back. But I also remembered when I was doing those 800-meter runs, I was running like I was barking like a dog, like I've never ran before. So it was like a fight, like, and so
is that heavy breathing? You're calling barking like a dog?
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
It's just
I like
his asthma.
Yeah. And I'm trying to run to just like get back to running, and it's uncomfortable. And like you talked about, just unconsciously breathing like I'm hyperventilating, I'm running, I can't catch my breath, right? And then it puts my lower back into overextension.
Right.
And so
just look at where your core is at when you're up here.
Yeah, and think about that. So when I'm calmer for those 2-mile sprints that I did, I have no low back tightness, which should be the opposite, right? I'm running faster, I'm running hills.
And these are 800s, these aren't a half marathon, right? So if we have people training 800s and they're working on the breathing and keeping their rib cage down, their core is on, they're breathing properly, when they go to the half marathon, they're not going to come see me and Mark and go, my freaking back hurts, I have Achilles tendonitis now, my outside knee hurts. Because that's what we hear all the time. People just, I had a busy day, and I go home, my 3 kids, and then I feed them, and then I go run. And it's like, you really think you went out there and like actually were like optimal in your training? But it's only 800 3 times. And it's like, yeah, but you're still training at that deficit like that, and then you're going to go do a half. You're not fully optimally prepared at all.
That's where I like to nerd out. This is the point where it's like, for FixFit, the principle, the idea is to figure out what's the root cause of people's movement injuries. So if someone's a runner, because we're using that analogy, and then they come to me, yes, we can assess they're not using the hamstring and glute and all that, but if they're nervous and they can't like catch their breath when they're running, they don't know how to breathe, then is that the root cause? Because they might have their hamstring and glutes on, but they can't even access it because they're breathing like shit the whole time. Right. Or even like in jiu-jitsu, if you're like freaked out and you're breathing all crazy, you put your body and core in not an optimal position, and then when someone stacks you, then you have more damage to your lower back, So what comes first, right? It's like, is it the mechanics or the breathing mechanics that throws you off? And that's where the whole...
I have an answer.
Yeah, I bet. I was going to say, I know what yours is.
Here we go.
Well, it's kind of interesting, though, that there's a million different ways we talk about improving our health and fitness. and none of them affect you as quick as breathing. Mm-hmm. So breathing's like, it can affect you in a minute. You can change, how you feel and how you're going to perform. Whereas nutrition and exercise and all these other things, sleep.
12-week program, like you give you a 12-week program to hopefully feel something, right? Mm-hmm. But the breathing, like you said,
you could change in a minute.
You change in a minute.
And we live in a world that wants that instantaneous, gratification.
That's true.
So I think it's something easy, not even to sell. It's really like, dude, this is free. You lay on your back and breathe. Right. You pay to obviously learn it, but it's like when you're there's no supplement that you have to take. There's no totally free. Mark and I are prescribing all these exercises that take work and time. Lay on your back and do this breathing stuff.
Like right before this podcast, I was in the parking lot and I just did one round of breathing. Yeah. Just because I had 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. Well, it was 4. It's gnarly because I've always been a bad breather, mm-hmm. and that immediate change is what kind of sparked my interest in the seminar. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler for some, but like we did a little baseline and I just held my breath for 20 seconds about. That's mm-hmm. usually my top range, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been a terrible breather.
30s is average. So.
Yeah, it's like 30s is average. I'd be like right around there, 20, 30 maybe.
Yeah. And 20 seconds is like anxiety filled, like, oh, I can't breathe, right? Go down in a pool and I can barely hold my breath. And so we do the rounds of breathing. Long story short, after the few rounds, I was able to hold it for 2 minute plus. That's an immediate change.
Crazy.
That's not like, hey, you do this breathing thing, you might feel good, and then maybe a year later you're going to be able to hold your breath longer.
Well, isn't that a bizarre?
For me, it was mind blowing because a minute holding your breath. When I hear that from someone, I'm like, man, you must be like a collegiate swimmer.
Right. You wouldn't believe people. If they said they can hold their breath for 3 minutes, you're like, no, you can't. Come on.
I don't believe it. Yeah. I need to go to the seminar to really see this because I'm like, there's no way you could get me to hold it for 2 minutes.
We had someone that did 4.5 that day.
Yeah, we're like raising hand and
it's very common.
When I did 2 minute plus, when I did 2 minute plus during the seminar, I talked myself into breathing again because I was kind of starting to freak out. I'm like, I think I should be. I'm not breathing.
It's a weird feeling.
It's like
when you have nothing to do,
and
it's your body's requiring nothing from you, and you're just sitting there not breathing, and that's why you get in such a deep. That's why it's so easy to get in such a deep
meditation.
Meditation, yeah.
Is it recommended to be on your back? I'm sure you're going to show different ways, back.
Yeah, no, it's easier because you're just not using strength anymore.
Yeah.
So the idea is to.
It's literally no gravity laying on your back.
Yeah, so that helps for a longer retention. Yes, being on your back, but to be able to do it sitting up, I think is super valuable too. Because there's other few things when I prepared for the Fight to Wins. I would do it for an hour, and I would sit up the whole time because I wanted to own this tool. Right, if you're laying down, you don't know your environment quite as much, but I wanted to be able to sit and do this and control it, and you can do it just as well. Your retentions are shorter, but all the chemical changes are happening.
Well, I think we're kind of painting a good picture for this on this podcast because you start off by saying for 6 months you did just a technique you heard over the podcast. I remember Wim Hof breathing into that thing. Uh-huh. I had anxiety listening to that thing. I was like, I'm just holding my breath. I don't know. I was talking about that last night. Anytime I hear people doing it, I hold my breath. I don't know what that is. But he was doing it into the microphone, and I was driving or something, and I was like, "Why? I'm squeezing the shit out of my steering wheel, and I'm not breathing right now." But you did just that with no training, and it works.
Yes.
Then you get these trainings, and you can start applying it in different ways. So that's where the long-term lifestyle changes happen, right? I'm going to practice it seated, I'm practicing my car, or practice before a run.
For sure.
So that's really cool how you can apply it to
I'm already
ton of things.
Thinking about So yesterday, right before the run, I sat there, did the breathing, and then I breathe with my eyes closed. But then I remember something you said. I opened my eyes because I wanted to own it, right? I want to be able to do this everywhere. And then I got to that disassociate part, the REM sleep type of thing. I opened my eyes and I'm there was a mirror there. I was in my room, and then I looked at the clock. It was 2 minutes again, and I was like, "This is weird. Dang. It's like I'm in a dream."
Yeah.
And then this morning too in the car, I just timed it, and it was 2 minutes again. So wasn't a fluke. And that's what I messaged our group, Leslie, DJ, and Johnny. I messaged them again saying, hey, I ran the mile under 8 again. It wasn't a fluke. It was real.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
Can't wait.
And today, so what I'm saying for application, I'm already thinking of today we're doing the open workout. So I'm planning trying to figure out, I was like, man, I only need 4 minutes, right? So 2 minutes of breathing and 2 minutes of retention about. So I'm like, if I can sneak out right after I warm up or whatever, sneak out in the back room and do 4 minutes of breathing before this competition type of workout. We'll see how it goes.
Totally. I mean, any little bit helps. But it's along with those performance benefits, we get what gets released. Dopamine gets released. Adrenaline, neuroepinephrine, all these amazing chemicals get released. DMT gets released potentially.
Sure.
Yeah, man. This is my good friend John Chavez. He wrote the book on tips or questions from the lion tamer where
What's
they're
DMT?
researching. So dimethyltryptamine, it's a chemical that's endogenous in all of us that gets released.
Okay.
Potentially, it gets released during REM sleep.
Okay.
And potentially during these deep meditations, potentially during whenever you're in a gamma state. Okay, right before you die, a bunch of different times, you have the most powerful psychedelic that's in you, and it can get released.
And you can trigger it.
Well, so we're pretty sure the Wim Hof method does it, and that's what the DMT quest is all about. It's getting together the researchers and the scientists. There's a big long list of research and scientists that John has gotten together.
Tons of good research on it for PTSD stuff, right?
Yeah, amazing stuff. I mean, they were already doing a bunch on mushrooms, but this potentially has. I mean, mushroom. That's an external thing that they have to do.
Right.
Or this is internal. It's already in you. So it's this could be actually a better resource for PTSD than even.
There's so many health benefits to this, in my opinion. I think. Being in that health and fitness world, right? I'm like, man,
it's neat, man.
Talking to so many members about all these different issues too. It's just there's so much that this can be great for, and we don't even know yet because the science is now catching up, right?
It's not even health. It's it's just human potential. Mm-hmm. It's just how did we not know that we could hold our breath for 2 minutes?
Yeah, right.
Nobody taught us that already.
In an instant. It's not even you have to train 12 weeks for this. It was on the spot.
I think that's a clue that we have some untapped potential. We've all heard this story, right? Tell me if you guys heard this story. That there was a farming accident. Some kid's trapped under a thing, and a mom runs out there and lifts 1,000 pounds off of her kid. We've heard that story, right?
All the different forms and
adrenaline.
things. Yeah.
So adrenaline, and we kind of chalk it up to that's kind of a one-off. Maybe she was special, or maybe that would only happen if the right circumstances were put into place, right? But what if we can control those? What if we can do that without those circumstances?
Yeah. We all want to believe we have superpowers, right? Yeah. And that's the guy Julian Strongford he talks about. He's not he grew up and wants to be a superhero. That's why he nerds out on so many of these hacks, right? Because he wants superpowers.
Yeah.
And that's why Avengers are so popular. So if you can tap into that, yesterday when I was running, came back and told Andrew that. It's I feel like I have superpowers.
Heck yeah.
Because
it's a superpower.
It's different, right? Because I was accustomed to running like shit for so long, and then when you have that performance enhancing technique, it's immediate.
I had the exact same experience. I could barely run a mile, and
it's nuts.
Yeah, I could barely run a mile until I got my breath work better. And then now I was taking my dog for a jog for 2 miles in the morning after I used to walk him 2 blocks, but it absolutely transforms people's athletic performance if they had. Some people have really big lung capacities, and I think you'll notice that a lot of the UFC fighters or people that have to do a lot of cardio, you'll notice that they have really broad chests, and which allows you to have more lung capacity. And so those guys probably don't have to worry about this. They've always had great cardio, and I think that has a lot to do with it. That it's natural.
I was gonna say, you mentioned that earlier, how you breathe into a vital capacity machine, and a lot of the studies were general population versus athletes versus and it's always that's always the factors they put in. Well, this guy's tall and slender, the shape of the rib cage, all this stuff. But it's I wonder if they have any where it focused on the way that they were breathing.
Yeah, there's no optimization. They're just tracking this structure,
for the total amount, the total volume.
Total tidal volume of the lung, because you can't get a full lung measurement anyway.
Right.
So it's what's the point then? If your lungs are this big, and it's yours is bigger than mine because you have a longer torso. What does it matter if we can't even get?
So you're saying that test is just not
most of the vital capacity studies are not very
accurate. You think
they're accurate, but they're not applicable.
Well, that's what I find too about a lot of different breathwork training, because they have you count your breath. There's box breathing where you count for a few different series, but anything where you had to count your breathing and I had to match somebody else's pace, it didn't work for me very well because my lung capacity is low. So it wasn't. I needed a quicker pace.
That's so
exactly.
True.
Like you said, somebody might be like, oh, I don't need it as much as you do, but it's like, it's still like you guys could both use it in different ways, right? Like he's might need it for his nervous system versus the way that you need it for your actual capacity of your lung and the way that
you mean the just the Wim Hof method in general?
Yeah,
you need it for different ways. Oh my God, yeah, the amount of benefits is such a long list, and that's why I start the seminars off with like, well, what are you here for? What do you need this for?
That's so true.
Because there's 20, 30, 40 things it can do for you.
Dude,
and let's make sure that we know what it can do for, what you need it for, and we're gonna find that.
Yeah,
that it's such an interesting. You bring up box breathing. Everyone knows breathing, right? You either learned it. There's benefits. You learned it from yoga. I think our coach Leslie was like, "Oh, this is like Lamaze. Like breathing's been around forever." But the way, because I've done box breathing, like that's from the that guy,
the military.
Yeah, SEAL Fit. He does that. So a lot of people teach breathing, and Ramwad has breathing. Everyone does breathing. So I've experienced oxygen advantage, all these different types. And I would say the difference between all of that and the Wim Hof method is that a lot of them, you don't get the immediate effect right away.
Agreed.
Because you're not spiking adrenaline. And I think a lot of them are focused on like calming yourself down, calming yourself down. It's all meditative. But it's like ass backwards, because this can get you in a true meditative state, like I'm in REM sleep, in a matter of minutes, versus doing 20 minutes of box breathing and whatever, and it might not be the right tempo because you have to hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4, and it's like...
Well, again, though, I think kind of, they all work, though.
Yeah.
Any conscious breath practice is
just
beneficial.
personal experience of all the different methods. It's like taping my mouth shut every night because of the oxygen advantage. It's helped.
Yeah.
But it's not really like, well, so do I have to do this the rest of my life? It's like, am I finding the root cause?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, that is.
So it's like, I'm supposed to take, that's FixFit's principle. We're just trying to optimize and find the root cause. So for me, just to go over, if someone's been like a yogi for their whole life, or like endurance athlete, or you've tried all these other breathing techniques like I have, you got to try this Wim Hof one just as a personal kind of experience. It's just so much quicker. I'm biased now. I really came into it because the opportunity.
Were you skeptical?
I've taken so many seminars in the last 10 years because that's what CrossFitters do. It's acceptable. It's like you want to learn from every aspect and everything. You know, so it's
I can tell that with your gym. Has so much data on the walls and stuff, and it's just wet with information.
Anyone can share, and I'll learn from anything. But I do have that kind of lower expectation now because I don't want to get all like. So and then it was like a short notice type of thing how we met, and so
super short, less than a week.
So then I'm just more worried about the logistics of setting up, cleaning up, and making sure everything's good. And then I'm just like, I'm gonna learn some breathing thing because it's not like I'm not. I have done breathing before, right? So I just think it's another breathing technique, right? And
just all meditation is going to be some form of conscious breathing, like he's saying. It's going to help, but if we're looking for performance, we're going to talk more about the Wim Hof application for performance is what you're looking for. That's why, because like like a Headspace app is like a great one that like people follow all the time and they love and they commit to it, but that one again takes long term. They're like, it's a 30-day trial and you barely see some benefits and then you log in for like.
And you've dealt with anxiety, like especially when it spikes, right? When it hits, like I've done so many different breathing techniques when I'm having an anxiety day, and none of them have worked because it's like the anxieties ramp me up so high that day. Usually it's like you said, we're not prepping for it, right? So we deal with the aftermath. So when the anxiety hits,
catching up to
you're fucked. Like I can't come back down. Like until you do a lot or have conversation, it takes a lot to get down there. But this hopefully can be immediate to drop it down without having to.
So finish your point on the. So you've taken. How many seminars would you say you've taken over 10 years?
I don't know.
Hundreds? Thousands?
No, not that many. But like especially in the beginning, I would take any and every seminar available. That's like what the fitness industry would be, like the FMS. Like there's all the ones that are the standard ones that are at the top of the list, I guess. I've tried to take all of them.
So as far as information and enjoyability, what did you think this one was?
Yeah, and so the whole time when I'm taking it, I'm thinking like, I got to get Ian here. I got to get your whole office here. I got to get Bob here for the anxiety podcast. I got to get some of the members I'm talking to with this thing and this issue. And I got to get the runners in here. I got to get my other coaches in here. And that's why we're having another seminar right away because I loved it that much. Because I don't come out of seminars being, usually you take a couple key nuggets, right? And then you're like, oh, this nugget's good. I'm going to write it on my book and, kind of reflect on it a little bit. Maybe apply it here.
I say the same thing. I take like one thing from even a crappy seminar.
Yeah.
But like Mark was saying, there's like so much that you can't wait to have another round. And I'm like, those are the kind I like too.
That's what's so neat about this.
Yeah.
This one podcast changed the direction of my life and my health and my fitness. One podcast. So one day of me showing this to people, like it changed people's lives.
And
it's crazy.
I apply a lot of it, and I get excited after coming off a seminar and applying the techniques as a lab or experiment, But this one, I feel the immediate changes, and I can see all the different applications for all my members from the health standpoint and a performance standpoint. And then on top of that, it's like the endless possibilities. That's what excites me, right? It's kind of like FixFit. We're just dabbling and just helping people not hurt. Then we're going to performance. Now we want to dabble in other sports like we have with golf and jiu-jitsu guys. It's like, I like that. It's a universal truth, right? When you get one of those, you should be excited. You're learning something that's super powerful.
How about the fun, too? We have a pretty fun time there.
It was just jump in ice baths.
It was a good seminar in terms of that as well, because it wasn't boring. It was, you get the application, you get to meet some cool people.
Try and make it interactive, too. And just we the doing the horse stance is something that's Wim Hof is famous for, and that's a great way to warm up and add your breath work to movement. Yeah. But the cool part about it, too, is you can't do it wrong, and you can add in all types of crazy Tai Chi things that you want to, or anything, and it's just you feel silly when you're doing it, especially around other people, and that makes a chemical change. Just feeling silly around other people changes you a bit. Just like screaming changes you a little bit. Just like humming changes you a little bit, and we just jam pack it all in there and just have a crazy time.
I think CrossFitters have already surpassed the people looking at us being crazy, so we kind of
you want to talk a bungee jump thing. I'll have a bungee jump effect of getting into an ice bucket for sure. I don't think I've ever done
I was anxious the whole day
full submersion before. Awesome. I think I've done a leg.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, I've done like lower half.
You're like, I put my finger to stir a drink.
Yeah, that's cool. Even that's I use a straw for that shit. Are you kidding me? No, seriously, because I tore up my plantar fascia in my foot. I think I only did my leg. Wow. So that was in high school. I've never done a full.
Those hurt. When you do just extremities, that really hurts. And I swear it's easier to do because the rest of your body's warm. And so the rest of your body's like, what is going on down here?
Right,
but when you do a full submersion up to your neck, it's that's actually probably the quickest way to sort of make these chemical changes where you get the disassociative feeling. So that's probably the easiest thing to do. I think a cold shower is tougher than a full submersion, like I said. And then I can barely keep my hands in ice when I ice them after jiu-jitsu and stuff. It's very difficult.
That's a good point, because I haven't done organized sports since high school. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I've been part of like jiu-jitsu gyms or something, but like nowadays, like they're making all the football players go head first in, or up to their necks, jiu-jitsu or MMA fighters too. But I feel like no one's saying like, oh, it's the worst or whatever. Like they like to get in it right after a workout. Yeah, full body. That makes sense. It can be. Because for me, it was just one leg, and I was like, I hate this.
I'm excited that you're nervous, because the people that are the most nervous have the most fun.
Yeah.
I agree. I was nervous the whole time because, anxiety, that's what causes it, the unknowns. It's like, am I going to make it in the
Am I going to embarrass myself in front of 30 people watching me? Yeah.
Exactly. All these killers in the gym. We had like 4 black belts and all these other. I'm like, I'm going to look like a bitch and run out and cry.
You did a great job. So you had to hold it down because it's your establishment. So like you have to do it extra.
So here's to talk
Mark's
to someone
put a camera in my face. I freaking.
That's what we did with each other because with DJ Hoadley and. I got in and it was cold, so you prepare yourself for that, and the coldest thing I ever felt. But it took about it seemed like 30 to 45 seconds. Yeah. To get under a minute to get. I was calm as fuck, and for being that scared of it, and I sat in for 3 minutes.
Maybe the calmest you've ever been in your life.
Yeah,
maybe, right? At about 2 minutes in. It's a very calm
and
state.
DJ did 6 minutes because he's just ultra competitive, but he was afraid to and nervous for the.
He posted a picture of DJ and he was just like not happy, like before he went in. Yeah, there's like a picture of him just like looking at the camera, like,
it's scary. So
why did I sign up for this shit?
Everyone is scared of it.
And then 6 minutes That's crazy.
He did a long one, yeah.
But you get the most benefit from it because you're so afraid of it, and when you come out of that,
to your point, yeah,
life
he was like,
changing.
I don't want to do this, and all of a sudden it's 6 minutes.
And now he's been just messaging about, I want to buy one. Where can I keep it? I can't keep it at home. And I was like, he's like, can we keep it at the gym? I was like, where are we gonna store that? And he's like,
he's got a backyard.
And I was like, Miles lives in San Marcos. You live in San Marcos. Just run to Miles' house. You know what I mean?
That's
you guys can hang out.
He's invited over.
Dude.
But let's talk about this seminar coming up a little bit.
I just wanted to shout it out.
Sure.
Sunday, November 17th.
November 17th, we're running it back. And I talked to you a little bit about how like this time you're going to add a little bit to it because you want people to, like maybe a DJ or myself to attend again, and there's still some new content in there, right?
Oh, there'll be some new content.
So that's, you know, if you've taken it, if you're listening to this, then feel free to take it again because I guarantee you'll learn. And if nothing else, you get that. What I think is super important is another guided practice.
Yeah.
Because that's way different.
And we had a few people there that had taken it already. Some of my friends that came back for another one. And so you can do a couple, you know, some of the science will be familiar to them already, but then every Wim Hof instructor does a, you know, they put their own expertise in there. And then where I had a lot of the joint strength stuff that I learned from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And so, and you know, I'm going to come up with, we're constantly evolving what we're doing, which is neat. So Wim Hof, the whole organization is so awesome for the fact that they're like, look here, get out these core principles to the guys and then add in your own stuff. Yeah. And so it allows us to really be free and be creative with these things. So everybody's workshop, every instructor's workshop, I would say is like probably if more than 50% different because everyone sort of has a different interpretation of the stuff. I love the horse stance. I used to think that was the reason I loved it. Because the same reason how you don't like the ice bath, and I have a feeling that you might end up really liking it.
Yeah.
And then because I hated the horse stance because it looked so dumb and I didn't really understand it, and all of a sudden we had to do it we had to be prepared to do it for an hour. At when we got our final certification.
Oh my gosh.
Knees bent. You're in a squat, basically a squat, moving your arms around for an hour. Which is your legs turn into something else. They evolve into something else because they're just trembling. Yeah.
Are you supposed to be doing just coming from that seminar? Are you supposed to be doing more of a neutral breath on that, or like the Wim Hof?
The horse stance?
Yeah.
Oh no, you're just supposed to connect your breathing to your movement.
Just breathe.
So
just breathe
as you move. Yeah, just the idea is because you're warming your body back up at that point.
Gotcha.
So the idea is to sort of start feeling your blood flow, if you can. Yeah. I mean, we don't naturally just feel our blood flow, but we actually do. So if you guys can do this with me for a minute. If you just hold your hands up, and then you can close your eyes if you want to, but if you just feel the air on the tips of your fingers. We have no wind in here, but if you feel what's on the tips of your fingers, there's something there. You can feel them now, and you're sensitive to it, where you weren't 2 seconds ago because you weren't intentionally trying to feel it. So what I think is happening is we're actually opening up blood vessels on the tips of our fingers with just doing that. So you can bring blood to certain areas of your body by flexing. But you can also bring blood to certain areas by noticing. All you have to do is notice, and you will actually, if you pull your hand out of ice water and you watch it white, and then you watch it turn red, and you can actually see blood sort of travel to the. You can also do that by you can help blood get there by noticing, by just noticing your extremities, and we have so much more control of our system than we know about. You know.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So Sunday, November 17th. What is it? 10 a.m. or
11
a.m.
3.
It's an hour later this time.
11 to what? 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 4 hours.
Time goes
4
by
hours.
so quick because it's such a good seminar. That thing went by like that.
Yeah.
At first I'm like, damn, it's a long one. I gotta sit here for this shit. Because some of them get boring.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
I'm
sure. I get the boring stuff. I get the science out of the way.
I have to mentally prep for all situations. That's an anxiety mindset. This could be great.
I want more science, and I'll bring a notebook. We're talking about that.
Yeah, bring your notebook.
I'll bring a notebook.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the second time we have you on the podcast, I'll have even more application stuff. I want to. But yeah, early bird registration's out right now.
Early bird, yeah. Sign up
for the first
$10 off. Yeah, for first 10. It's kind of the deal.
9 because I registered.
9.
Oh, dang.
Sorry, everybody.
85 and it goes
left.
up to 95, and a couple, things that are gonna benefit you to take the seminar now is that we kind of talked about potentially running some, bi-monthly sessions at my gym, because that's important because you can't take those classes where it's a guided breathing thing for Miles, and he could bring out the ice baths, and that's one of the things that's probably missing because you're going to take the seminar and then you're going to be able to apply the techniques, but it's nice to get back into that submersion and then experience it.
Yeah.
And people don't have access to an ice bath or don't want to buy it or set it up. So then you can kind of take a class here or there to
the guided breath work is helpful. Just having someone guide. I'm kind of act as a guide or trainer.
It helps a lot.
Just kind of run you through it.
And so that's another incentive to take this seminar, because then you have to have the fundamentals course.
Yes,
down.
You have to. So we're going to do a breath class at some point. I hope so.
Yeah.
But you have to go through a fundamentals workshop before you can take the breath class.
So that's another incentive. So we start doing cool shit at CFS, and we're trying to do this breath class. You can't take it unless you have the fundamentals. So make sure you get this down. We're also doing a little fun thing, because we're trying to sponsor someone to go, because it's so important and we want to share. And so I'll make a post on mine and you guys can share it as well. But like usual Instagram stuff, you just like breath.fitness at Instagram.
Yeah, I would say like Breath Fitness on Instagram and also Breath Fitness on YouTube.
There you go.
That'd be cool. Subscribe to YouTube. Yeah.
Cook Cairo, CrossFit Sun, and then all you have to do is probably comment. All the instructions will be there. Comment, tag someone that might benefit from breath work.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do a random drawing, and I'll put the names in a hat or something, and then someone gets to go for free.
Cool. And then so early bird registrations right now. And then you're going to cap it too, right? You were saying?
He likes it to be smaller, more inches, like 20-ish.
It's good to know, who's going to be there and stuff. And so we'll see what we can fit in there.
But can you imagine that to be such a great problem? We have like 50 people. Just be like one of those Wim Hof ones.
Yes, that's awesome. And I have to, which I probably will. I'll probably have another instructor there with me anyway. Mm-hmm. But anyway, over 20 people, we're required to have another instructor there. Cool. So if we do get over 20, then I'll make sure that I have another.
That's good to know, because like you said, the first Wim Hof thing you went to, like 200 people, right? So it's like grouping at least into like 20 people. That's really good for a seminar, I think. That's a good population.
Wasn't there a crazy one recently where there was like 1,000 people?
Yes.
I saw some clips or something. I don't know. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
They were like in those big plastic like external pools like kids have, and I just saw like 10 people jump in together.
It's wild. Man.
How much ice was there?
1 million pounds. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm like
he's like really.
No,
I
mean we had 1,000 pounds of ice.
Yeah.
We had 1,000.
There was only 10,000 pounds actually there, I think.
10,000. Yeah. But still, like.
But I like to get 1,000 pounds of ice. I like to make everyone dumps their own bag in. Yeah. Like I like to make sure that the thing's at least half ice, and you got like a mountain of ice under your chin. You got to dig ice out of your beard when you're done. I mean,
only the real men with beards get to do that.
Well, one more thing we should mention for more information, you should also go to WimHofMethod.com. Perfect. It's real important that we want to funnel people back to the original source, because these guys are definitely doing an amazing job.
Ton of content on there.
It was cool. I went to
there's free classes on there and stuff too.
After the seminar that same night, because I was just so stoked on it, I went to Wim Hof's YouTube channel. Then I got to see all the testimonials from like Laird Hamilton, Brian McKenzie, who's a big figure in CrossFit, so like, and Alistair Overeem, if you're an MMA fighter. So it's cool to just kind of do a little bit of pre-search. Is that a real thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have a ton of links in our bio or in our show notes today. Cool. Because we'll have your Instagram, YouTube, website, Wim Hof, and then the registration for the seminar. We'll put that one first for sure, because it's gonna start booking up really quick.
And the FixFit nerds that are always on our journey, this is what we do, right? We find a new drill and you walk the journey with us. So people that take the seminar hit me up, because then when I'm applying it to the FixFit drills, like the diaphragm slam and this and that, which is like a knee on belly and breathing. We use like a slam ball. Uh-huh. When he did a knee on belly, because there's so many jiu-jitsu guys, and he talked about how to breathe through that and stay contracted. Mm-hmm. And then DJ Leslie and I were like, dude, this is like a diaphragm slam. Yeah. So we're like taking notes, and we're like, this is how we're going to apply it right away. Yeah. So people that do FixFit and follow along, this is a good seminar to take, because it's just another
That's a valuable breath pattern, and those are breath patterns that actually aren't necessarily associated with the Wim Hof method. Mm-hmm. But I got the crazy good fortune to work with Hicks and Gracie on breath work, and so I've sort of combined
that was
two,
cool.
Sort of special to my own seminars.
Cool. He could do that crazy ass Hicks and shit with his stomach and the Cron Gracie thing.
We'll do a little bit of that.
It's badass. So all you MMA
no spoilers. We can't do it for the camera today.
We'll save it.
We'll save it.
I seriously thought about this morning. You know how I like start the video and I'm flexing. I was like, Miles, bust that shit out, and then people turn it off. What is this?
It's gross. I agree that it's gross.
It's gnarly, man. Yeah. It's gnarly when Hickson did it. Yeah. But it was, it catches people's eyes.
Yeah, we want that.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks,
awesome.
Miles. Part 1, man. Because can't wait for this seminar on the 17th, and then we're gonna have you back on for part 2 sometime to talk more about what I found. Mark's gonna be applying it to pretty much everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna be testing it all day long. Man, you know when you vacuum and you breathe? Who are we kidding? I don't vacuum, man. He's gonna kill me.
All right, man. Thanks for coming, dude. Guys. Appreciate it.